our work right now on the planet is to bring honoring and sanctity to the invisible just as much as the visible. The invisible results are things like feeling good, things like feeling connected, things like our health, our well-being, a feeling of joy, pleasure.
Embodiment can't be faked once you're in an open state where you actually can see through a clear lens. You know, you're not clouded by fear, you're not clouded by the amygdala, you're not clouded by society's news and all the fear-based stuff, and you're just with you. Then you get to decide where you think we actually are.
Energy is information. We're here to experience the full spectrum.
That worthiness is hard for you. There's nothing wrong with you. It is a muscle that we kind of have to learn how to access. You are not disempowered, and you have power in every area of your life all the time.
I believe that chronic illness is an opportunity for us to heal.
Health, it's a choice. Listening to your body if you so choose.
My prayer for the world would be that they would know the infinite love of God.
Aloha and welcome to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast, formerly known as the Embodied Healing Self Podcast, with your host, jenmons. Join me each week for soul-inspired, conscious conversations around awakening to your soul purpose through 5-element well-being. Thank you so much for joining in. Aloha and welcome back to the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast. This is episode 177 with your host, jenmons. Thank you again so much for joining me again this week. So I probably say this a lot, but I am really excited again to have another conversation this week with you. So thank you so much for listening in. We've been going strong since March of 2019, formerly the Embodied Healing Self. So many amazing guests, so many amazing topics, such great feedback, a really amazing community, and I'm just feeling super, super grateful. So thank you so much. If you're loving the show, please share with other people. You can find me on YouTube. And you can also check out podcast episodes now in blog format, transcribed at jenmons.com/blog. So today I'm going to come to you and talk about one of my favorite things to talk about. And I'm going against the grain a little bit for, I guess, some people, maybe even some of you who are listening, and just taking a stance against as an anti-hustle culture person. Like I really firmly believe, and I'm seeing it in my own life and the women that I'm supporting, really shattering that belief that hard work equals success and diving into the root of like, where did this come from anyways? How is it showing up? What is it really keeping us from doing? And what do we think it's giving us, but is actually preventing us? What are the values of the anti-hustle culture? And become curious about what might happen if we shift this. So I'm just going to take a stance and say I'm pretty anti-hustle, anti-boss babe, anti the whole like feminine energy of like the hustler, boss babe. And if you're calling yourself this, like there's no judgment against that. I'm just saying that for me, those words don't resonate. And I want to invite you to a different conversation. I'm always open to conversations. Like I think it's the people that we disagree with the most that we should be listening to the most, and I say should, but that we could be, that we could open to listening to. I think we can learn from those people the most, actually, if we're actually, when we are really in a place of trust, we're able to listen to people with different ideas and perceptions because we have nothing to prove. And that just kind of goes to show us where we are on our personal development path. I come to you from a place of really thriving or thinking over and over again that I was thriving, hustling. I graduated from a United States military academy called Kings Point. It's one of the 5 service academies. Not only, and when I went there, it's 9% women. 6 of the people of the 200 people that graduated with a dual degree, and I was one of them. They no longer have that program because it's just a ridiculous amount, insane, of 36 credit hours, 2 Coast Guard licenses, and a reservist. That's what I graduated with. It's not even possible anymore because it was just too much. But I did it, and I did it with with honors, graduated with a 3.0, 3.2 GPA or something like that. Like, just competitive swimmer, captain of the swim team. And this is who I was in high school. Then it repeated in college, and then it repeated again in my professional life until the day I suffered from a health crisis, becoming a mother, near-death experience, liver failure, overworking, overstressed in 2006. Completely changed my life. And then guess what? I started my own business as a health coach. I learned so much, healed my body with Whole Foods, and had a second health crisis in 2014. Because I believed that food was medicine, and I do believe that it is, and I witnessed miracles in my family and the clients that I was supporting, and I still had a health crisis because I was still overworking. All I did was change the work that I was doing, but I didn't change the way that I was doing work or the beliefs that I had around why I was even working in that way. And there's so much to unpack around this. I know exactly where it comes from. I've been very committed to my own personal development and healing journey for the past 15 years, ever since that happened. And I can remember events I've talked about on the show before when I was really young and having a need for safety and stepping into a position as a 7-year-old of sort of like protection and having to grow up really quickly. And then deciding in that moment that I was just going to become a person who masculine energy would respect, that I would never be less. I was never going to be less than in the eyes of the masculine. And so I decided, well, I can do everything they can do, and I can have babies. So actually, I think I'm better than you, which is total ego. So I did that. I went to a college with men, and then I worked in very masculine dominated environments. Probably, I don't think it can really get more masculine dominated than being on a ship in the middle of the ocean and being the only woman on a ship. And that's basically where I'm coming from. You know, I know how to weld, I know how to take engines apart, I'm a certified firefighter. Like, I have skills that nobody really even cares about, but can really just to show you that I actually, if I'm being honest with myself, would have been like, I kind of resented being a woman because it was safer to be masculine in those environments. So I had a second health crisis that led me down the spiritual path, learning breath work, becoming a life coach and a yoga teacher, and understanding that our well-being is multidimensional. It's not just physical. And even though I knew that, I didn't really embody it. So I come from a place of been there, done that, proved myself, and have nothing else to prove, which is really nice to have that freedom. But I found myself showing up, still trying to prove, even out of the masculine industry. I worked as an engineer for corporate for 7 years. And I still found myself showing up in the same energy of seeking external validation, people pleasing, hustling, proving. But on paper, it looked really glamorous. I always got good reviews, got the bonus, got the raise every year, had a good job, was an engineer, graduated from a good college, had a good marriage, all of a sudden becoming a mother, still went back corporate for a little bit after I became a mom, and then shifted to coaching back in 2008. But I still had the same work patterns. And all it has led me to is 2 health crises and 1 bad business partnership financial loss. Because in the bad business partnership financial loss, what was happening is I wasn't slowing down to listen to my intuition. I stepped into, if you listen to my episodes, Energy Loves Clarity, episode 174, the energy that we enter a relationship with, any type of relationship, friendship, marriage, coaching relationship, buying a house, going on a trip, business partnership, the energy that we enter that relationship with expands. So it's really important to take ownership of our state of being when we make decisions. Am I choosing from a place of fear or ego? Or am I choosing from a place of trust and surrender and possibility. And that's why I like to speak about this, because the work I do, I specifically support high-achieving, purpose-driven women to redefine feminine leadership, redefine success, redefine wealth. Wealth, W-E-A-L-T-H, and wealth, W-E-L-L-T-H. I do this through my 5-element wealth program and prosperity and feminine leadership program. Embodied feminine leadership is what we do. So I love this conversation. And what I find when you get into these circles is that all of these amazing women that I get to work with, I mean, I've worked with everyone from entrepreneurs to business owners to therapists, doctors, lawyers, Top Gun flight instructors, military officers, executives, is that really deeply underneath the surface, we want to be seen and valued for who we are, not what we do. And this is the space I provide in our retreats and our circles. Because if you're feeling this way, you're not alone. It is so powerful to just unveil, to just release, like peel the layers, all the identities. Mom, business owner, executive, 7-figure business owner, community leader, event leader, just peel all that back, because none of that is who you are. It's just what you do. All the way down to the truth of who you are. And then be seen in it and heard and valued and loved and supported, both in your most vulnerable, hot messiness to your gifts. It is one of the most liberating, most powerful experiences I've ever witnessed, been a part of myself, been supported through. I've been in this work specifically around that since 2017. And I'm just so grateful, because with it came improved health, improved connection and relationships in all parts of my life, increased awareness, freedom, ease, and joy. And that's what the women are stepping into when we give ourselves permission to lean into the resistance, get clear about why did we become this way? How did we get ourselves into a culture of overworking and hustling, specifically as women? Let's just be curious about the timing of it, right? So I was born in the 70s. Mom was born in the 50s. I mean, women just got the right to vote and had the right over their body, birth control. That stuff all happened in the 50s. Wasn't that long before we were born. I graduated from a military academy, and I entered the school in 1995. The first woman ever in the first military academy to ever graduate women was my school in 1976. Just less than 20 years later, I stepped foot on that soil 25 years ago. More than that, 27. And not a lot has changed since then. So in the big picture, things take time. But we can see, we look at our moms and then we look at our grandmothers, like the opportunity that was available to our grandmothers was a lot less than it is for women now. The opportunities available to our mothers in the 50s, the 60s was less than it is now. But what have we done to ourselves? We've gotten ourselves into this hustle culture where, yeah, we can do anything we want, but that doesn't mean we have to. It doesn't mean that we have to. It doesn't mean we have to look like we have it all together. It doesn't mean that you have to be a successful business owner or executive and a kick-ass mom with kids who are thriving in excellence. In fact, no, that's just not the reality. And it doesn't have to be. And all of that is okay, but it is possible. It is possible to thrive in those things. And I believe that comes with your commitment to do the inner work. I believe the inner work creates the outer results, because that's the world that I live in. That's what I do. I support women to thrive in abundance, financially, in health, wealth, and love. Those 3 areas specifically, in their jobs, in their relationships, in their health, in their own relationship to trust and clarity, and creating the life that they want while also consciously parenting, which by the way just happens naturally when you embody your values. You really live what you say and you do what you say from a place of integrity in your values. You choose, you become the source of your time and money. So yeah, I'm a solid stance against hustle culture. And I'm super passionate about it. Like, super passionate about helping women redefine what leadership is. I know that we are shifting this paradigm. I know that collectively we are in a time of redefining this collectively. And that's what the pandemic started us. Thank you for that slowdown. That's when it all started. I can remember I've had an online coaching business since 2013. At one point, I supported functional medicine, doctor, and health coaching. And I can remember people saying to me, like, that'll never work. And all of a sudden, a lot of people are doing telehealth. A lot of people are doing virtual coaching. And a lot more people are working from home. So that was a blessing. Slowing down. So the anti-hustle culture revolution that I'm a part of, which believes that we're shifting this paradigm, especially women who have believed that your value is in what you do, not just who you are. Maybe you've forgotten who you are. You've been complimented and praised so much on your accomplishments. This is where we get to be super conscious as parents. Yes, compliment your children on their accomplishments, but more importantly, compliment them on their behaviors. Who they are in the world as people, not their accomplishments. I know that for me, part of how I adapted into leaning into being a high performer is because I got recognized and praised and it felt good. So I thought, well, the more I do good and the more good results I get, straight A student and, super athlete and the whole thing, then the more I'm acknowledged by my parents, the more acknowledgement I get. And it feels good, and I think a little is healthy, but be mindful that you're also complimenting them on their behavior. And I happen to be the mother of two really high performing daughters. And I think about this because their accomplishments are abnormal for their age, like just really driven, talented, focused, supported, resourced in all of the amazing ways, because all of those things are important. And I just consciously make it very clear that you can stop this at any time. I have a daughter who's on the Junior Olympic surf team. She's top in the country, surfing at a professional level against grown women and doing really well. My other daughter's at an international college prep school in Hawaii, finishing high school. It's not easy to get into. Both of them know that at any time, you don't have to do this. Do it for you, not anybody else. This does not define you. This is just part of what you do. And I think for many of us women, it's felt good to be recognized for being fierce. We get to redefine fierce. So the anti-hustle culture that I'm taking a stance is, I don't believe that you have to be stronger and faster to do something well. I don't believe in making decisions from a place of scarcity. I don't believe in lack. I don't believe in busyness. Busyness is misalignment. So I invite people to shift the conversation from hustle to alignment. Alignment is clarity. Energy loves clarity. Episode 174. Every decision you make, every energy that you enter a decision with expands. So instead, we live from a place of trust. When you step into alignment, you make decisions from a place of trust. It's a feeling that it's a muscle you get to work. You set the intention every day to connect with truth. And you build that muscle. And that 1% of trust that you've heard me talk about before is even when the results aren't there. So there's no external validation for trust. That takes a lot of surrender. There's no external validation when it comes to trust. It's you and your deep inner knowing, even and especially when the results aren't there in that moment, because they will come. They always do, and it's always better than what you imagined. Anti-hustle culture is in this paradigm shift that we are really in right now as a collective, especially for women, redefining feminine leadership, is invested in personal development. Self-care comes first. So in my world, I've created a business around my life, and my life is very, very full. I travel a lot. I'm about to leave for 5 weeks to go to Hawaii for a retreat, and then Italy to look at colleges with my daughter, and then Barbados for a surf contest for my other daughter, and then California for a surf contest for my other daughter. I created a business that supports my life. I will not say to my kids that I cannot support them because of work. That is how I've designed my life. Now, not everybody may have that opportunity in this moment, but everybody has that opportunity. But a person who is taking a stance against anti-hustle culture, anti-overwhelm, anti-burnout, commits in personal development, and puts their values first, is committed to their health and their well-being. And that's what 5-element wealth is all about. It's a circle that I lead with women, is redefining the abundance of life through the lens of mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, and financial well-being. Connecting to joy, connecting to our values, our gifts, healing our heart, making decisions based on who we're becoming versus who we've been, creating sacred space, getting clear on our relationship with time and money and energy and support, getting clear on what we're available and not available for. Because when we're in overwhelm, we're entering a relationship from an unhealthy place, probably a need to be validated or loved or seen or recognized. I like to call it a martyr. In our prosperity course, we talk about the 7 saboteurs to prosperity. Prosperity is about trust and receiving. And there's 7 saboteurs that, yes, they show up in a relationship to money, but they also show up in our relationships in life. The people pleaser, the martyr, the fixer, the tyrant, the free spirit, the saver. So just think for a moment, like, am I a people pleaser? Am I always putting others' needs first? This is easy to do as a mom, to put your kids first, right? And although there are times when we need to, when they're really young and they need us, think about what you're teaching them by giving up on your dreams to put them first. Giving up or not investing in yourself. This is a couple conversations I had this week with ladies, is like, it's so easy for me to drop 20 grand for my kids' travel soccer, but not on myself, not to invest in myself for this program or this retreat or something like that. I mean, do you hear yourself doing that? It's easy to spend 5 grand on a vacation, but not in personal development or, health, integrative wellness, acupuncture, yoga, breath work, like all of the things that help us to feel resourced. So the people pleaser, the martyr, the fixer, it's easier to fix somebody else's problem than our own. There's the tyrant, which is really the woman who's afraid to let go of control and has a hard time stepping into trust. Free spirit is more the avoidant, like, I'm just gonna let things just happen, go with the flow, but it's like that person needs healthy discernment. So just kind of noticing, like, your thoughts, your actions, your belief patterns. Are you stuck in overwhelm? Are you still trying to prove? Are you hustling? What does it mean to be a feminine leader to you? What does it mean to hustle? What does that get you? What does it mean to be fierce? Or, to have it all together? Like, what value are you putting on that? And whose belief is it anyway? Is it yours? What if redefining feminine leadership was coming from a place of trust and clarity, healthy boundaries, wisdom, feeling grounded and centered, getting clear on what you're not available for, what's not working, not going into the story of it meaning anything about you, not being enough or anything like that, but just gaining the clarity that it was misaligned. The embodied feminine leader leads life from her gifts and her values. She has nothing to prove, nothing to gain even. She just is complete. So I have a poem I'd like to share with you. As a former engineer, I have some creativity that comes through every once in a while. The woman who stands quietly confident flows through life with ease and grace. She no longer identifies with a need to prove herself, overwork, overachieve, people please, or for external validation. She takes time every day for stillness, movement, and nourishment. She embodies confidence and clarity, sovereignty, and integrity. She does not spin in cycles of sabotage through procrastination and indecision. She acknowledges perceived mistakes as learning opportunities and clarity for what does not work. She stands in clarity, creating healthy boundaries. She trusts her intuition. She allows the grace of God to flow through her abundantly. She loves and is deeply loved. She knows her needs, and she makes requests for the support that she needs. She receives abundantly in love, nourishment, joy, and wealth. She isn't afraid to speak her truth. She is strong enough to release attachments. She invests in high-level mentors and support. She leads in purpose from her passion. She is a balance of nurturing love and fierce courage. She has a passion for life, and creativity runs through her. She sees beyond the veil and all that holds others back. She takes aligned action in her gifts and embodied truth. She embodies prosperity consciousness. She gives and receives with no expectation or attachment. She lives in freedom. Are you ready to meet her? So I love that poem. I wrote it in the beginning of 2022 when I was just coming to the end of a really, really challenging and painful experience, which felt like betrayal, which those experiences really allow us to lean in and just kind of do the inner awareness of self-betrayal. And yeah, it just brought so much clarity to hitting another roadblock, living in that energy of like hustle and overwhelm once again did not serve me. And I find that for most women, it leads to a breakdown in one of three areas, if not all three, or maybe another, but it's usually health, wealth, or love. So either marriage or finances or your health, either mental, emotional, or physical health. And so this is me giving you permission to step out of the hustle culture, to step into alignment and trust and clarity, and to be resourced and supported and to thrive, to go from surviving to thriving. And I want to acknowledge that your survivor strategies have been glamorous and amazing, and you've achieved so many amazing things because of them, and you don't have to. And there's another way. There's another way to be fulfilled from the inside out versus that feeling of fulfillment based on external validation. And what is underneath that is freedom and a new level of expansive awareness about what it really means to thrive. And then all of a sudden, like all of these resources and opportunities just open up to you because you're living in a new space. You're living in an expanded state of consciousness. And we are in a paradigm shift right now. And you get to choose to be in it or to watch it. You're going to see other people. I've been in this shift. I'm doing it, taking ownership of their well-being multidimensionally, taking ownership of their choices in their life, and really making time for the things that really matter for you, especially as women. we get to redefine what that looks like, not only for us, but for generations to come. So I'd love to invite you into this space if this speaks to you. There are several ways that you can work with me. I have a 5-element wealth program. I have a prosperity circle retreats, and I also have an embodied feminine leadership circle, which is just super easy. We meet twice a month. There's no course material. There's no homework. It's really conversation, coaching, and just connection and sharing. So if you're the person who doesn't want to full on completely commit to a transformational program at this time where we go through 5-element wealth or prosperity, then maybe the feminine leadership, the feminine embodied and empowered women come together and have access to resources through the teachings, but it's also more about connection and just learning and growing in an easeful and joyful way, because sometimes we move, sometimes we dance, sometimes there's EFT or emotion code. Like there's all kinds of things that we do inside. Breath work, visualization, meditation, or sometimes we're just connecting. It's all the things. Super amazing. So thank you for listening in. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I look forward to seeing you again next week. Aloha.
The content of this podcast is to educate, inspire, and inform you of pathways to an embodied healing self. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice from your medical doctor, therapist, registered dietitian, or nutritionist for any questions you may have regarding your diagnosis or condition.
Friends, and thank you so much for joining again each week on the Body and Soul Wisdom Podcast, formerly the Embodied Healing Self Podcast. I am so deeply honored to share this space with you every week. I know that there are many other podcasts that you could be tuning into, and our community is expanding and growing more with each new episode. I'd like to invite you to come on over to jenmons.com/tribe and receive some of the wonderful gifts that we have for you. A meditation bundle, energetic alignment, 5-element wealth, prosperity consciousness. We have a ton of different gifts available for you to enjoy. Now, we have one small favor to ask. In order for this podcast to get into the hearts and souls of like and light-minded people, we need your support. We would love your review, and would love it if you'd head on over to jenmons.com/podcast to leave a review or leave one on iTunes so that we can continue to share the love beyond out into the world. Thank you so much again for joining in. We'll see you next week.